Coach, have you had a chance to go over the film from Fresno State, and did anything pop out of note?
Well, I think the things that were obvious are pretty obvious. I mean, we didn't tackle them on the 3-yard gain pass that they had that turned into a 58-yard touchdown, and we didn't protect well when we had an opportunity to protect the punter. And really, those were two fundamental mistakes: tackling and protecting and punter. They're fundamental. I don't expect those things to happen, and knew we couldn't do them. So that's 14 points that stood out right away. And then secondly, in the second half, they kind of wore us out a little bit, I think, physically, and I think that was evident, too, with the 2 long drives they had. But overall, our effort and our desire to play the game was very evident on the film as well, and I thought it was live when we watched the game Saturday night.
Kind of give me your thoughts on how you thought Andre played and ran the offense, comparing it to maybe his first start as well.
Well, I think he's going to be a very good option quarterback. I don't think there's any concern that you have to defend him when he has the ball in his hands. Whether he's in the shotgun or under center doesn't matter, and I thought he performed very well. I thought in that setting, I think he made a couple of mistakes, but he also made some great plays with his feet and did some good things as far as directing the offense. We did not put the ball on the ground. We did not turn the football over. Those are all real positives against a very athletic Fresno State defense.
Cool. As far as what do you plan to work on this week? I mean, are you putting extra emphasis on punt protection and tackling or what?
Well, considering we lose a day of practice, we're not practicing Thursday. So there's not a lot we can work on this week and still get ready for an opponent as much as we'd like to. And the other part of it is there's not a lot we can work on from a fundamental standpoint because we're so beat up. We can't afford to be physical at practice right now because if we are, it could be devastating to what we are as far as the number of healthy bodies we have. So we have to really work on execution things, timing things on offense, defensively, making sure we get lined up and understand what our assignment exactly is. And in the Wild Bunch, our special teams things, there's some things we can work on, but it's not going to be very physical, like I said. So we got to be careful with what we can do in a short week, and a very short week against a very athletic opponent.
Okay. Coach, why don't you just update us on the injury front? Were there any new injuries or any new people coming back?
In the last 3 weeks, on the very first play of a game, we've lost 2 safeties. Angel Morales against Texas State, and we lost Brandon Williamson last night against Fresno State. And that doesn't make us very deep at the safety position, let's put it that way. But, yeah, both those guys are out, and we're going to have to move on, and some younger players are going to get opportunity to play, and hopefully they'll be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. Mike Freeman, who got hurt last week at practice, will be out, and we have several others that I'm going downstairs right after the press conference to talk to the training room and see exactly where we are.
Okay. And to talk about Old Dominion, what do you know about them? What are their strengths? That kind of stuff.
Well, number one, to be watch out. And if I, would have known exactly what I was getting into 5 months ago when Allison had the phone call to go back there and play, I would have probably put on the brakes and said, halt, stop, no thank you. When you have a 5-week schedule like we have right in a row on the road, and you put Texas State, McNeese State, Fresno State, and then you play Old Dominion, who is probably the most athletic team that we played at the FCS level. They're probably in between McNeese State and Fresno State. They're very, very athletic, and every phase of the game, I think their skill players on offense are outstanding. I think that on defense, I think all 11 guys are outstanding. They lead the nation right now in tackles for loss. They played William and Mary, who just beat James Madison, who had beaten Virginia Tech, and they should have won the game. They fumbled on the 5-yard line, lost 21-17, and in a game they would have, should have, could have won. They are a very, very good football team that's only going to get better. They're young, and it's scary with the experience that they have as far as how many games all these guys have played, and they're going to have 20,000 people. They're turning away people. They have, I know Eric told me, 2,500 season ticket people on the waiting list. So it's going to be very Montana-ish as far as the environment. It's going to be a long trip. We're going to lose a day of practice on Thursday, and we need to be ready to win a football game against a very talented, athletically, and a very well-coached Old Dominion football team.
Coach, coming out of the Fresno State game, I know it was a 21-point loss, but, I mean, is the team confident, though? I mean, you guys seemingly played well. It was a very close game. That score notwithstanding, but, I mean, confidence-wise, seems like you guys should be at a high right now.
I mean, I think that, I don't think anybody likes to lose. I don't care who you are, but I think you do have to keep things in perspective when you play Fresno State or a team of their caliber. That's a very, very athletic football team when you look at what they were offensively and defensively, and even on their special teams. Part of their performance was extremely fast and athletic. And if you look at comparative scores, I mean, they beat Utah State 41-24, and Utah State destroyed BYU. So, I mean, you can look at all those things and say, hey, yeah, we're happy. No, I don't think happy is the right word. Are we pleased with the performance we gave and the effort we gave? Yes. Are we pleased with the outcome? No. I think that when you line up and play an athletic event, you play to win. And when you lose, you have to look at it as we lost. And then when you get 24 to 48 hours in advance, you get over that. You look at the positives, you take the positives, and I think we have a team that plays extremely hard. I think they're pretty focused, and they're going to need to be in Game 4 of a 5-week road trip, and hopefully be ready to go win a football game and be hungry to win a football game against a good Old Dominion team.
You're just about at the halfway point of the season right now. What areas of the team do you really feel has improved or have improved, and some areas where you're still concerned and still certainly needs improvement?
Well, on the offensive line, we need to get better, but I mean, in reality, there's a reason for why we're not really. I'm not saying we're not pleased. I'm actually pleased that young people are stepping up with the injuries, with the 4 injuries that we've had on the offensive line, and they're competing extremely well. They're trying, they're playing hard, they're doing the things we're asking, but their inexperience is showing as well. And I think that that's an issue, but at least I think we're making progress in that area, and hopefully we're making progress with maybe getting a couple of guys back. That remains to be seen as well. I think other things on the offense, I think we're blocking a little bit better on the perimeter. We didn't do a great job the other night. Obviously, their free safety is a very active player, and we didn't get a lot of touches on him that probably we should have, and probably would have made a difference in the game, or at least in our performance. It definitely would have made a difference. So we still need to improve on the perimeter blocking part of our offense, but there are a lot of positives to look at offensively, and we'll build on those, and we'll work on the weaknesses, the things we can work on. Defensively, I think that the tackling issue and the big play issue has continued to plague us, but there are some pretty good athletes and some pretty good players that are making big plays against us. I think that has to, sometimes, when you throw a 3-yard pass, I know we preach it too. If we can get the ball in our playmakers' hands, sometimes they can make some things happen, and some opponents are doing that to us. But we have to eliminate the causes that we have. We can't make mental mistakes that give up big plays in the pass game, and when we have an opportunity to tackle somebody, we have to tackle them, especially in the open field, and that's one thing we need to get better at, but it's going to be hard to do when you're as banged up as we are right now.
You mentioned about playmakers. Would you like to see Dominique get his hands on the ball a little bit more than he has so far?
Well, a lot of people are saying that, but I mean, that's when you're playing 4 offensive linemen that don't have a tremendous amount of experience, and you're playing against a team that looks like Fresno State up front. I don't know how many times we really wanted to throw the football, but when we got behind by 10 and 14 points, sometimes we had to. And I think that we have to look at everything that we're trying to do and make sure that we're trying to protect the quarterback and give guys the opportunity to be successful, not just Dominique Johnson, our entire team. There's a lot of guys that go into that formula. Would we like to get the ball in his hands? Sure. I'd like to get the ball in all our receivers' hands a little bit more. But the reality of the situation is that we have to make sure that we're getting better up front and start to have the confidence that those guys can hold up against what they're going to need to in order to throw the ball to Dominique Johnson.
I know people said that you guys only had 18 yards passing in the game, but that was probably a large product of, like you said, offensive line play. I mean, a lot of times Andre dropped back and there just was nowhere to go except scramble for for his life, I guess. So I mean, you mentioned
I think he only scrambled for his life one time, and he got -1 on about a 92-yard scramble. So the rest of it is what he's taught to do. He's taught to do, if it's not there, go. And he did that very well. That's part of our offense. I mean, that's not running for your life or anything. He's looking at a receiver, and if he doesn't like what he sees, we're telling him to go use his feet and make a play. And I thought he did a tremendous job of that in the game the other night. So that's a part of who he is, and we need him to be that. And so he becomes our second option in the pass game, and that's a pretty good option to have. So as far as running for his life, really those are designed scrambles. In other words, we're saying we're going to try to throw the ball here. If you don't like it, if you don't like what you see, you go make a play with your feet. That's his second option.
I asked you about his performance after the game. Having seen the tape, how would you assess Andre's performance in the game Saturday?
Like I said before, he's a courageous guy. I mean, he played extremely hard, and he got hit a lot too. He took a lot of big hits and continued to play. He carried the ball a ton of times, which is fatiguing at his position, and still tried to keep his composure and his mental capabilities at the line of scrimmage. I thought he played very well, and I think his best is yet to come. But he's making strides, and I thought he played very well. And he kept us in the game in the first half.
And then getting back to the Old Dominion, Cal Poly here very rarely plays on the East Coast. I think this is like the first time since '99 when the team played at Hofstra. This may be a rare chance for you guys to open some eyes on the East Coast and know that there's some football out here in California. Any thoughts about that maybe you guys could have some new eyes opened about Cal Poly football on the East Coast?
Well, you would hope that's what you do, but I really do think that, the Coach Ellerson and the past staff, I think they opened enough eyes. I think that people are very well aware of who Cal Poly is and what we can do as a football program. And there's good news and bad news of that. I mean, Old Dominion's going to hype this up as their third-ranked opponent of the year. and we're ranked 14th in the country, and we're 3-2. So I do think we get enough respect. I think we got to start earning that respect a little bit more by how we play on the field. And I think that this is the fourth game of a tough road trip against a very good football team, and obviously it's got my attention, and hopefully we've gotten our players' attention this morning. But losing that day of practice has me concerned, and we're going to have to make up for a lot of things, going back, traveling 3,000 miles in 11 and a half hours, and getting up and playing a football game Saturday night after a tough, grueling 3 weeks prior.
Hey, Tim, behind Greg Francis, or besides Greg Francis and Scotty Cordier, how is your depth issue look at safety with the injuries and stuff?
Well, Xavier Ramos is next, and we have a lot of confidence in Xavier. It's just that when we start getting to the fourth and fifth guys, we're going to probably start taking some redshirt years away, and that's David Douglas and those guys that we're going to have to start getting ready to play football. And there's no question that that's what we're going to have to do. And unfortunately, that's the name of the game. As much as you'd like to give him a year to learn the defense properly and be ready when he's a redshirt freshman, the reality is we have a good football team this year, and we're going to play the best players. And if David Douglas is next, then David Douglas is next, and that's kind of where we are at the safety position.
How did the Fresno State game, or will it make you guys a better football team?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said last week, I think the order in which we played opponents has allowed us to take step-ups that athletic ladder each week. You know, from Humboldt State to Montana to Texas State to McNeese State to Fresno State was a pretty good ladder to walk as far as the speed of the game. And this team, like I said before, is going to be in between probably McNeese and Fresno. And they're very athletic. But hopefully, because of the speed of the game that we played against last week, hopefully things will slow down a little bit for us, and that we'll be able to use that to our advantage. So I think that there's no question that the schedule, and Fresno State in particularly, helped us from a speed of the game standpoint. And we held up pretty good for a half of it, but overall, we got to be able to play better for 4 quarters against that type of athleticism.
How did your defensive line, I know you said they fatigued in the third and fourth quarters because, you know, they were outweighed by 50 to 100 pounds, and so sometimes 150 pounds. But how did they hold up when they were in the first half, when they were at full strength? How did your defensive line hold up?
Well, I thought we did some good things, but in that particular game, there were times when, for example, number one, the running backs are good players too. Let's not take that away from Fresno State. Their offensive line's good, but a lot of the stuff they do is zone stuff. So where they're blocking and looking for a lane, and if everybody doesn't fit up properly, you're going to have a seam. And they had some seams, and they did a good job of pushing us and widening some of the gaps a little bit. As the ball snapped, the gaps either constrict if you're doing a great job, or they widen if you're kind of getting blocked and having a tough time pushing back at the guys. And I think as the game wore on, those gaps started to widen a little bit, and they had some seams to run in. And they're very good at what they do, and they are. I mean, to the naked eye, I would hope that you could have looked when our guys stood out there and their guys walked up to the line of scrimmage. That was a good-looking, physical bunch of guys that they have on the offensive line, and even their big guys could move a lot better than we thought they could. So I thought we held up okay. I don't think we played great up front, but I think we battled, but we need to get off blocks and go make some plays a little bit better than we did last week.
You and Coach Hill talked probably a little bit longer than most of your handshakes go, from what I could tell. I know you're a couple of UC Riverside graduates, but what did you guys say to each other after the game?
He just said, you know, I'm pretty lucky to have the job in San Luis Obispo, and maybe you got to move over here. And I said, yeah, that'd be a good idea. No, we talked a little bit about Cal Poly and San Luis Obispo and what a great opportunity it is and a great job it is. And I told him what a great job he's done at Fresno State, and don't listen to all the people that are naysayers. Pat Hill's done a tremendous job over there, and hopefully in the offseason we can get together and play a little golf.